Hey everybody, I'm here with Robbin Marx from New York City. Hey Robin.
How you doing, Shell?
I'm good. Thank you for joining us for the Fireside Chat series. I'm really excited to have you today.
And thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolutely. So tell us about yourself and what gets you out of bed each day.
What really gets me out of bed each day is, my family. Really, I have a 17-month-old daughter and a 9-year-old son, and I'm usually the first one up in the house, getting everyone ready for the day. Just, waking up and seeing my daughter and her calling my name, and then my son dragging him out of bed every morning. It really gets me up and motivates me for the rest of my day. In my 9 to 5 life, I'm a youth development specialist. So I work with kids from ages 6 months right on up to 24 years old. So that's, my day job that gives me a lot of, satisfaction. But really what gets me up every day is setting an example for my kids, being able to, be a guiding light for them.
That's amazing. And what a nice age, 9 and 17 months.
Yeah.
Got one who's like already fully into their personality and the other one who's just starting to kind of wander around and start to say no.
Yep. No. Oh my God. That's like her number one thing. Is like she says it like no, no, no. So it's
God.
crazy.
That's awesome. So speaking of no's,
Yep.
you, in addition to your 9 to 5, you
Yep.
have your production.
Yep.
You have a production business. You do beats, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about that business, because that's how we connected.
Yep. Thank you. I'd love to. So, just to give you like further background,
Sure.
For many, many years, I pursued a career as an MC, as a rapper. I worked with a collective called End of the Week, which is an international, hip hop collective where we have chapters in, 13 countries all over the world. We meet up every year and we do an international rap competition. We have chapters in France and Australia, Uganda, Germany, all over the world. And that was what I worked on for many years. I committed my life to it really and sacrificed a lot to do that. And in the process also tried to, sell my music and get traction with my music as an artist. Then I had my first child. And when my son was born, it really kind of put things into perspective for me. And I took a step back from actively pursuing my rap career. And that's when I found youth development and, went all in on being a youth development professional. Right now, I'm a senior program director at a prominent nonprofit in the city here. But there was always that craving for creativity. And I still wanted to create. So I, still wrote some rhymes and stuff, but I wasn't really actively pursuing it. And then I stumbled on beat making. My wife got an iPad for Christmas one year, and I kind of just tinkered around with it, made some diddly-doo-bop kind of beats just for fun. And slowly but surely, they just started getting better. Then I got the confidence to share it with my, my contemporaries, people that I knew through rap. And I was like, hey, do you like this? They were like, yeah, that's kind of dope. My brother, who's a DJ, he's been on tour with, Gnarls Barkley and Lupe Fiasco, Tribe Called Quest. He used to be the DJ for Sean Price, God rest his soul, before he passed away. So my brother is also a really good resource in terms of judging the quality of my work. And he gave me a cosign. So after that, I was like, well, I'm going to start recording on my beats. Initially, my beats were just for me to record on, to perform on, and have like a creative release. And then I started sharing them on Instagram and was saying like, hey, do you want to rock on my beats? People were like, nah, I'm okay. Like, hey, but I got a beat. Do you want it? Nah, I'm okay. And then I turned it upside down and I said, hey, you want to buy a beat? And people were like, yeah, I'll buy a beat. So it went from like me trying to get people to get on my beats to me trying to sell my beats, and automatically it caught fire. And that was in July of 2019.
Oh, okay.
Sold a bunch of customized exclusive beats, basically people calling me and telling me, you know what, I want this style beat, this tempo, this feeling, and I would go into the lab and create it, which pushed me creatively, but also gave them as customers and beat buyers, giving them exactly what they wanted. And that's kind of how it started for me with this new online business that I have.
Okay. And, it's funny, I did a segue and then was like, oh, let me interrupt my own segue with a question. So with that, you're going to have to say no to certain types of artists, or do you say yes? Like, tell me how you do the selection process for somebody coming to you.
Yep, that's a great question. So for me, at the beginning, it was like any and all, right? So it really didn't matter. And I won't say the artist's name, but there was definitely an artist that I did an exclusive for, that their style of, let me take that back, not their style, but their content wasn't necessarily in line with my values, as a Christian man. It wasn't really like something that I would promote and co-sign. But at the same time, it's like, the analogy that I use is like, if someone goes to a car dealership and they buy a car, and then they pay in full for the car and they drive off the lot, and then they get to their destination and they're like a hitman for the mob. I'm the salesman. I didn't know that, right?
Right.
The only difference with music is that music is everlasting. Music is, especially if people release it, once people release it, it's out there. It's infinite and it's timeless. And it's not like the links are going anywhere. If it lives on YouTube, it's alive. And that's the difference between a car and a beat. So for me, I use the car analogy as kind of like my excuse to be like, it's all good. But then if something was eating away at me and I didn't, I didn't really vet my clients. Now I've made a kind of a shift, and I can tell you more about it. But what I'm doing now is really targeting the audience that are in line with my values.
So let's go with that, because with the Fireside Chat series, as I shared with you, like we all, each one of them tends to hone in on a subject, and this is something very dear to my heart because my start was as a ghostwriter. So you can understand, you're doing the beats behind a music. I'm the words behind stories, movies, things that you've seen in a theater. I wrote them, and it's exciting. But I got to a place similar to you where it was like, I don't feel so good about this. Like, I remember I had to write one book, and or it was a play, actually, a screenplay, and I was hired through the producer to write it, and I had to use the F word like 145 times. Have you ever had to count how many times you use the F? like it's obnoxious. And by the time I was done writing that screenplay, it was just kind of, I had become different. I was using language I wouldn't always use. And that was really a wake-up call for me of, I want to work with people more like who align with my values. So this really strikes a chord with me, because that's something I didn't know about you. So what I did know is you were looking to work with more Christians. So let's talk about that, because that's something we have in common, where we started one way. You're the voice behind something. For you, it's the beat behind something that goes out. And once it's out, you can't take that back. If anybody ever releases that you were the one who made it, or that I was the one who made it, we just have to answer for that. Talk about what it's like now that you've made this decision of, I want to morph it.
Yeah. So it can't be like an overnight thing. That's the first thing that I would say. For me, because I've always been in the secular world in terms of my music as a rapper, like if you counted the F-bombs that I dropped throughout, my numerous releases, it would be a crazy number, So now, like, getting back into the church and, going public with like being a believer and being proud of being a believer and sharing that with my family, and also getting my children involved in the church. Like, this is a part of my life beyond music, right? So in terms of the connection with the Christian artists, one of my dear friends, old time, buddy through rap, Dayton, who's an active Christian, artist. I reached out to him along with some of my other contemporaries. Like I said, like, here, just check out the beats. I'm sorry, Shell.
That's okay. We lost visual. That's okay.
Yeah, somebody called me. How do I not do this?
Sometimes you just have to jump back into the Zoom.
Yeah, I'm gonna just let this ring out because I don't want to press anything and accept the call.
Gotcha. Okay.
So basically, when I sent the beats to Dayton, we should be back now.
There we go. I see
back?
You again.
Okay.
Yep. Right.
Basically, when I sent the beats to Dayton, he liked them, he picked some, and I was really excited from that. That was probably a year ago. It was a while back. And but through that, it kind of made me look into his music more, like what has he been up to, and kind of seeing that there were artists out there who were like getting a lot of, buzz and traction and success from like having music that was aligned with Christian values, which was mind blowing to me. And then also some of the stuff just really banged. So what I did was I started, instead of doing like the same Instagram marketing that I was doing normally, reaching out to everyone, I started targeting. I started targeting people who had hashtags like Christian rapper, hashtags like gospel rap, hashtags like CHH. And from there, I started meeting a whole nother, community of artists who needed production. And one thing that I would say for anybody who is thinking about kind of taking a similar route, just the responses from the artists, it's just a whole different feel. Sometimes when you're like reaching out to people on a cold contact, someone who doesn't know you, that you're just calling them out of the blue or emailing them or reaching out on their DM out the blue, sometimes people have great resistance to that and they're defensive. They're like, whoa, like, what is it? Where a lot of the people that I've reached out to, Christian artists, are very welcoming, very receptive. Even if they can't actually like buy something right now, the fact that I'm building these relationships is something that I believe will bring great value, not just to me, but for them as well. So it's a journey. It's not an overnight switch. It's not like if a rapper from the secular world reached out to me, it was like, Robbin, I want you to do a beat, then I'll be like, nah, like you're done. I'm only doing Christian music right now. What it is me making a shift to have more new contacts, contacts that are in line with my values. So hopefully we can make more music that is, positive and has a good message connected to it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. One of the things at a recent Friendsgiving party, I heard a testimony on how the woman had always grown up where like, rap was not what you do. And so now she's married to a Christian rapper and she was like, what is this? What is this?
Yeah.
I need to pray for you. And it's something for me, it was newer. I grew up hearing some of them, but it wasn't really until like Lecrae, Andy Mineo, NF really is somebody who really blew my mind. So when you look at NF's music and how he goes in and really tackles issues that a lot of people stay away from, and then you look at, locally here in Connecticut, we have like Stack Zion, Zabai, John the Bap. We have all these people who are really moving to new levels. Trevor Pope, we have Fuego and Fuego Ministries there. And I think I just totally butchered their name, but they're all doing these great things and they're doing it in a way that's getting the younger generation up. So you being a youth development specialist by day, doing the beats nights and weekends, how did the two come together for you?
Honestly, there's not much overlap, and that's intentional. For
Okay.
me, I try to keep my professional life separate from my creative life, just
Okay.
because I work for a really large nonprofit. It's a lot of legal stuff involved, and I don't say where I work. I just always say like it's at a nonprofit. And it really just stems from like the complexity of the agency. So I keep those separate. Now, my family, on the other hand, my family is deeply knitted into the fabric of my creative life. So like if you look at my Instagram page, there are pictures of my kids. I have videos of like my daughter and my son making beats with me. So like that part of my life, my personal life, is deeply, connected to my creative life, but not my day job.
Okay. And then, so do you work with youth like through the church or outside of your day job? Or is it like in your day job, you work with youth, but then in your creative side, it's more towards adults?
Yes. So at work, yes, it's like a youth development, gig. So that's a part of it. It's more of an administrative level, but at
Okay.
this point, but I did, work in a classroom at one point. I was like with kids every day. Now it's more from a leadership perspective, but in terms of my music and in the church that I'm in now, they have a huge, youth ministry. I'm not like, uh, I don't work in the ministry yet. We're relatively new to the church, but
Okay.
the reason we chose this church was for my kids, to make sure that they had a place to like get their first consistent fix of what a church is like, a church community is like. So for me, maybe down the line, that's something I'll have that overlap with my music and the actual church. But in terms of the youth, the youth that are really connected to my music, are my daughter and my son.
Okay, perfect. And I love that your family's such an integral part. I remember when I was looking through your Instagram and really, learning who you were and what motivates you, I saw family.
Yeah.
For some people we say it, but there's such a disconnect between what we say and what we show. And so I love that on your Instagram, I clearly saw that your family was important. So share with me some of the successes you've had as you've been starting this journey. You've been doing this journey as a producer, and then maybe one or two lessons you've learned from it as far as like areas to grow.
Yes. So there's a couple of things. The first thing is connecting with Dayton. Dayton was probably one of the biggest, events in my journey as a music producer, is connecting with him on this level. Again, like I said earlier, when we did End of the Week, like we were traveling, we did a tour in Spain once where we were together for like a whole week, going city to city. And now to come back, almost 10, 15 years later to connect on this level has been a blessing for me. There's a song that he's working on now, that's going to be on his new project that I'm going to be producing, that I'm really excited about. It'll be like my first official release on a Christian hip hop album. The album is called CHH Ain't Dead Volume 1. It's going to be released sometime in February. There's supposed to be some special guests on the record. I don't want to say any of the names because I don't want to jack them up, but also I don't want to ruin anything,
Right.
but there's supposed to be some like prominent Christian hip hop artists on the record. So I'm really excited about that. And other than that, just the new marketing that I'm doing to target, Christian artists I'm really proud of. I took a master class recently that kind of just opened my eyes to, marketing for producers, but also just digital marketing in general, and being able to like create new contacts, and also to, cultivate new relationships with artists, not just, hey, do you want to buy something, but hey, how can I help you? And that's like in line with who I am as a person, as well as a producer. So for me, I feel like any, transactions that'll come, but even if I can give somebody a beat pack for free and they use those, and that's the end of the relationship for the short term. I think for the long term, if we stay in contact, then I'm cultivating long-term partnerships. And that's really what it's about. I try not to look at the people that I work with as like customers and clients as much as I look at them as partners.
Oh, I love that. I love it. I call my folks clients because they are, but I
Yes.
always share with them they become friends.
Yeah,
Every
I love
one of
that.
them who started as a client, and I have to look at them that way because in my own journey, I was giving away so much for free. And
Yeah.
it was like, oh, what? Gotta pay for food and rent. But I love that they've become friends. Everyone I've met on this journey has turned into either a really good acquaintance or a really good and strong friend. And I've loved that because I agree with you fully. The relationship matters so much more than the specific transaction or the monetary value attached to it.
Absolutely.
One of my mentors, Bob Berg, he shares that the value you give, your worth is based on the value that you give and how much more it is than what you take in money. And I totally butchered like that saying, but the principle came through. Sorry, Bob. But, and I've always loved that since reading his book, The Go-Giver. It's been something that I've really tried to do. Like, let me give away more in value because the money will come over time. That we're promised, as Christians, we believe that God knows what we need and he'll provide. So let me give you the last question because I see that you're at work, and I thank you for taking this time to speak with us. But one last question is, so I'm going to give you two last questions. I'm going to put one on the spot for our closing out. But so if you have somebody up and coming, aside from what you've already said, what would you say to somebody who is out there and he's doing his music or she's doing her music and they want to get into using beats and using a more, I'm going to call you indie for right now, but you've done some great stuff, but using somebody who's more independent versus how a lot of people will go to these sites and buy beats or go to somebody they've always known. What would you suggest to them? How do they get in contact with you or even another person? Because, in the Christian world, we're all working together to make everyone look better. So what would you recommend to them? How do they go about finding you or somebody who does what you do?
Well, for me, the easiest way to get me is on Instagram. It's at Robbin Marx.
Okay.
I would say besides reaching out to me, I'll be glad to, connect with you and give you some freebies to start. I think at the end of the day, though, it's really about putting yourself out there. And this is something that I had to do. I had to take the leap to be able to like get, in front of a camera and, do testimonial videos and things of that nature. And join groups. If you're active on Facebook, I think trying to get into a good Facebook group, like for me, like I'm in a Facebook group now for producers that has totally changed my life. It's a group of about 900 producers from all over the world who share resources, who, share triumphs and failures, and we all learn. And it's just an amazing experience for me. And I would encourage folks who are like, whether you're a rapper or a producer or a singer, and you're looking to just connect with people to help you to get to the next level, pray on it. And then, do some research to find yourself some groups. Another thing I would do is, you utilize the internet. The internet is the most, we're in an information age, an age where we can learn anything and we can pick up any trade by just watching a couple YouTube videos. Like you're a couple YouTube videos away from like being, an expert at something. So if it's a rapper, like look up, like, hey, how do I improve my rapping? How do I connect with producers? That's another way for you to just gain tons of valuable knowledge. It seems like a no-brainer, but believe me, like it's super powerful, and I'm a testament of that power.
I never would have thought of that looking to YouTube. So thank you for answering that. And that's similar for writers, joining the groups, connecting, and anyone in a creative space. So I love that you shared that, because we all need to reach out. We're all here to work together, Christian and non-Christian. Being a creative community, our minds think a little different. We can go till 3 o'clock in the morning, get up and do the 9 to 5 from 5 o'clock and on, or whatever we need to do. So last question.
Shell, let me add one more thing before we leave that topic. And another thing too, you just triggered something in me.
Okay.
That sometimes for us as creators, because we're creating the same thing as maybe other people are out there doing and creating, there's this sense of like, oh, I don't want them to creep up on my business, or I don't want them, taking my stuff, stealing my style, or taking my ideas. And I think that's where, and I fall victim to this myself, I think that's where a lot of us, fall short, where it's like, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to not be the best. It's okay that somebody's a little better than you. You know what I'm saying? It's also okay for you to be better than somebody and for them to get inspired, or for them to take some of your style, because there's enough for everyone, and I think that's something for me as a producer for many years. Not many years, but for a long time, I didn't want to like even add producers on my Instagram, because I was like, you're not coming and like looking through my followers and taking my fans. But it's not about that. It's about, making yourself vulnerable and understanding that it's enough business and enough like, skills and creative ideas for everyone.
When I very first launched my business back in 2011, there was a woman named Daboon. She is a social media guru. She just, when it was first really coming out and getting used for this marketing, she had a voice in this space, and she still does. But she did how you can reach out to people and say, hey, will you help me learn? She spent 30 minutes on the phone with me, just pouring into me, speaking life into my business. And one of the things she said is, there's no such thing as competition. Your voice is heard by those who need to hear you. And that is something that from day one, I believe that as a writer. I believe that for all of it. My whole business is based on that as a coach, working with people to teach them their voice. Because whether you're a singer, whether you're a writer, whatever, others have your experiences, but nobody says it the way you do. Nobody can rap the way you do. So I love that you share. I'm really liking this interview.
No,
it's
that's
such
really
an alignment. Yeah. There's enough for everybody. Like you said, we're all hungry. We're all going to eat. There's nothing that anybody's going to go hungry. And when you help other people, again, coming back to Bob Berg, when you help other people and you get people in the right spot, they're happier, you're happier. Because I don't want to work with a client who's not going to be happy. We're not going to become friends if we're constantly bickering over the content. Just like you working with a musician, if at the end of the day you're not proud about it, how do you launch that or market it, etc.? it's harder to do that when you're not proud of what you came out with. All right, great addition there. So last question to close this out. Who are some people that if this went viral, if everybody, you know, in the world could see it, who would be 3 people that you would just love to work with? That would be like, yes, God.
No, that's a great question. So I'll start by saying that in terms of the Christian hip hop community, I'm very new to it. So I'm still learning the history. And there was one gentleman, a lot of the people that I connect with, you know, clients/partners, you know, that I connect with, I'll say like, hey, do you want to set up a call so we can talk about it? And that catches people off guard. They're like, what? Like, aren't you trying to sell me something online? Why don't you just keep it online, right? And I get on the phone with these people and we have these great conversations. So one of them was kind of telling me some of the history of Christian hip hop, and it was just mind blowing. There's a 50-year-old label owner in California, former gang member turned you know, pastor named Moses, and he has really, we've had 2 conversations and it's mind blowing. So to that I would say Lecrae is from, you know, what I've learned, is the guy in this community. For me, working with Dayton has exposed me to Bizzle, who's another person I would like to hear Bizzle on one of my beats. And then the last one would have to be No Malice, who is you know, from the Clips, who you know raps for the Lord now. And for me, I've always been a Clips fan, a Pusha T fan, a Malice fan. And to know that now he's doing, you know, work for the Lord is really, you know, empowering for all of us, I believe, especially when people come from the secular world and having success there and then coming to the Christian hip hop world. So for me, those would be the 3. It would be Bizzle, Lecrae, and No Malice.
Nice. A quick Lecrae story. So several years ago, when a lot of the race things were coming to light, he came here to New Haven and did a free talk at Yale. And so me and some friends drove down. We met some friends we have in New Haven, and we went. And it was called, I'm going to so butcher the name, but it was about reframing the narrative and learning the true history of racial relations in America and how to change that narrative. How as a white person, how as a Hispanic person, how as a Black person, Filipino, whatever, we can all come together and see what the real story was, but understand that there's different perspectives we all come from. And the way he did this talk and the way he got the people in the room really opening up and opened the mic. You know how like typically if somebody big comes, they open the mic, it's like 1 or 2 planted questions and then done. He stayed for over an hour after it was done, just talking with us about what it really meant to change the narrative. How do we become part of changing what other people will know as history? And I loved that. I was a fan of him before then, but since then I have followed like everything he does, making sure that I know what's up and making sure that when he drops a new album, I'm right there, you know, okay, download iTunes, you know, because that just spoke so much of it's not just about music and fame. It's about really building up communities. And I love working with people who do that. Dayton, I know like Hog Mob, et cetera, they really work and they go into these communities and they build up the community while they're there, not just put on a show. And that's so important. So you named 3 really great people there. And so if anybody happens to see this, or if you watch it and know those folks, reach out. Robbin, I'm going to share your information in the bio below, the description below, and then also the write-up that I do with the blog, so that way people can connect with you. So if you guys want to get a hold of Robbin, we'll also do it. I don't know video editing yet enough to say like up or down, but somewhere there will be one. So thank you so much, Robbin, for joining us. And
Thank you
I look
so much,
forward
Shel.
to connecting with you more.
Thank you. Peace.
Bye.